On today's show, a young biker gang hits the pavement in search of a summer fishing hole. The best spots right in the big city.
Oh, that's the best.
We discover the life and times of one of Minnesota's most dedicated cold water conservationists.
Be able to hang out.
Plus, a tasty venison recipe right out of our own kitchen.
Minnesota Bound, presented by Connecticut Water Treatment Systems.
Hi everybody, Bill, Millie and I welcome you to Minnesota Bound.
You know, if you ever question the commitment of kids to fishing, this first story might just change your mind.
Travis Frank met a group of kids that share a very special connection.
Friendships often form from a single common bond. All right, where are we going?
We're gonna go fishing at Normandale.
But first, we gotta pick up Grant. In RJ Grote's world, it's a fishy connection that keeps his buddies together. I think today's our lucky day. When school's out, they meet up to find fish in the heart of the city.
Hey, Grant! Come on, Grant.
They've created a biker gang their parents have grown to love. All right, let's pump a wheelie. 3, 2, 1. Oh.
You know, from a biking perspective, it's usually pack up the gear, throw everything you can in the backpack. I wouldn't say it's organized by any means. It's just put what you can in there, strap it on and go. There's, you know, good spots nearby.
Fishing spots these boys explore from shore.
All right, I'm gonna use a swim jig.
So lucky. I know we're gonna get a fish. Oh, I had one.
Grant, fish right there in the shade. See those glasses and go up there, Grant?
Your own glasses.
I just want to see them. And walk up there and check them out.
I know, but you don't.
See if I see any more fish for Grady. You get snagged every single day. I haven't gotten snagged this year.
Fishing for them has created a really amazing bond, a bond that you just don't get in other activities. I mean, they all play baseball, and they all have a love for that, but this is different than baseball, it's different than gaming, and just them being out in nature gives them a different feeling of friendship.
Plus, fish teach patience and persistence in ways that sports simply can't.
It's absolutely special. It gets them away from the screens, it gets them outside, that's the obvious stuff, but it's creating a lifelong skill, a lifelong interest, created some great conversation, it's created some great memories, a nice connection.
Got one.
Let's go, RJ.
Got it.
Oh, that's the best. It's a connection that goes far beyond a bass on the end of their line.
I think it's a pretty good one.
Now we need Grant to catch one.
Grant has loved fishing since he was like 4 or 5. Since he was little, he was diagnosed with ADHD, and for some reason, fishing and being out in nature just calms him, and he just finds a peace that nothing else can bring.
Oh, but this piece sometimes gets interrupted by complete chaos.
Oh, God. I need some help landing this thing. Come on, don't come off. Oh, it's a big one. That's my best, I think. Ugh.
He would rather be out here than anywhere else.
That was exciting. Definitely felt good.
It wasn't that fat.
It was girthy.
You've caught bigger.
I have, I think.
I think there are so many kids now that they're so addicted to their screens and to gaming, they have forgotten what it's like to be outside and to be out in nature for the love of just being with their friends.
I just think it's fun to do.
Use Grant's worms.
Yeah,
It's definitely working.
Fish have always had a way of bringing kids together.
Got one.
There we go, another one.
It's been this way for generations.
Oh, now we're on fire, huh?
It's a fighter, though.
It looks like it will continue for generations to come.
I love it.
Minnesota Bound is brought to you by Connecticut Water Treatment Systems, Coors Light, Ice Castle Fish House and RV, and by White Bear Lake Superstore.
Up next, the story of a trout angling junkie who maybe keeps a bit too busy. To meet Carl Haensel is to meet a Minnesotan making a difference.
Geez, it's every cast.
This might not be Minnesota's most popular form of fishing, but it sure is the most fun.
That is the magic right there.
The act of fly line and rod.
You have a map in your pocket?
The reason Carl Haensel paces.
So everybody's just milling and buying raffle tickets till 1 is what we got here.
Here, Minnesota's Fly Fishing Expo. An event of deals, steals, and everything fly fishing.
It does look a bit like a mayfly.
Daniel Lopez is the artist on this one.
People think that fly fishing is a destination sport. So people think that you have to go to Montana or Wyoming or Colorado or Alaska. That's not necessarily the case. We have incredible fishing here.
Exactly why Carl migrates to Minneapolis and St. Paul every March.
My role here with the Great Waters Fly Fishing Expo is I manage it on behalf of Minnesota Trout Unlimited. It's a lot to bring together. Hopefully we pull it off and everybody has a great time.
This job, just a small part of a resume that turned Carl into Minnesota's consummate voice on all of this.
You can put a little lighter reel on a little heavier rod. This stuff is bang up for me on the rule. For me, it's about matching size. Kelly's over there, Sylvester's over there. It's 1 p.m. and I'd like to officially welcome you to the 2022 edition of the Great Waters Fly Fishing Expo.
He's the perfect person to run this event and to drive enthusiasm about this lifestyle, this way of life.
He's organized, he's smart. People, I think people gravitate towards Carl when they ask, when they're curious about fly fishing and need some tips and that sort of thing. So he knows a lot of people.
There are only stories that make the fish grow larger in our minds.
That's correct.
I love this sense of community and being able to connect with everybody. So I want to do both.
Both run the show
tip it, new fly,
and run the rivers.
This is just such a beautiful, mellow place to be able to hang out and fish.
See, Carl guides fly anglers up along Lake Superior.
In St. Louis Lake in Cook County, we have over 1,200 miles of designated trout water, most of which that flow into Lake Superior.
I love going with Carl, so he teaches us so much about everything. He's a botanist, he's a historian, he's a storyteller, he knows where to find fish.
Now,
eat it. Eat it.
If you could only make them eat.
What we're out here chasing here today is steelhead. Steelhead are a migratory form of rainbow trout. These fish are hard to catch, they're hard to find, but they're big.
With Carl, probably the first 4 or 5 times I went out with him, I never caught a fish. And then it was really this last 3 times I've had a fish on.
The North Shore has unique fishing opportunities around the region. I love getting people out fly fishing right out there, like one of the big flow. My goal as an angler and as a guide is to get people enthused about getting out here and exploring. If they get out here and they experience it, they're going to care about it.
Minnesota's fly rod king.
Is that a fish? Strip, 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 more, 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 more.
A guy with a big reputation.
The size of it.
Unlike some of our Minnesota fish. Still ahead, we head across the ocean to discover the story behind one of Minnesota's most storied fishing lures. But first, Laura's in the kitchen to share one of her favorite Italian wild game recipes.
Closed captioning provided by Star Bank.
Today we're getting wild in the kitchen with Chef Jim Kinberg, Executive Chef of Cassetta's, and we're hanging out in Louie's restaurant today.
We are.
And what's on the menu?
We're doing venison today.
Venison today, but the key is that it is officially foraging season for wild mushrooms. And what kind of mushrooms are we using?
Got some morels.
It's Minnesota's gold, isn't it?
Fresh morels, yes ma'am.
And what's the name of the recipe we're doing?
So we're doing a classic Italian dish. It's called a Braciole.
Braciole.
There you go.
All right, let's get started.
Let's do it. If you could be so kind as to grab the venison.
All right.
So basically Braciole is to roll up, okay? We've got to kind of slice this very thin so we have something to roll. And then just to make sure we're nice and even, not that this meat isn't tender, it's already very tender. All right, so now that we have this pounded thin, nice and evenly, we're gonna go ahead with the stuffing.
Okay, sprinkle it in.
Yes, please, just a nice little even layer on top of that.
How does that look?
That looks great. All right, so we are ready to roll.
Ready to roll.
We're just gonna take this edge, leave this kind of naked edge in the back, just like that. We're gonna roll and roll and roll.
Easy enough.
Easy enough. One more step though to roll in, we gotta secure it. So let's grab me some toothpicks. It'll take like 3 or 4.
This is the easiest work a sous chef has ever done is pass off a toothpick. Season with a little salt and pepper.
So if you want to take this over, we've got a cast iron or heavy bottom pan that we've been preheating, and we're going to go top side down first. So that cut side, we're going to leave that on top. We're going to sear that last.
Smells good already.
So we've got some good color. We're seared on all sides. We're going to add our sauce.
The Braciole.
There you go.
Just fun to say, isn't it?
It is.
Wow.
You want to put the lid on it? Just right over the top.
And what temperature is our oven?
275 degrees.
That's a two-hander right there.
All right, I think we're ready to start sauteing some morel mushrooms.
Let's do it.
There we go. Perfect. All right, if you want to grab those mushrooms, you can add those right to the pan. Perfect.
So like 2 cups, 3 cups, as many as you have.
As many as you have, there you go. Just kind of let those cook for another minute or 2, and this is a perfect time to check the bracioles. There we go.
All right, should we take a peek?
Let's take a peek.
Wow, look at that.
That looks pretty darn good.
This is fancy without really being fancy to make.
You got it. We're going to be serving a little polenta with this.
This is a family style.
You got it.
That stunning.
That sauce over the top. And then the sauteed mushrooms, we're garnishing the plate to bring it all together.
The venison Braciole is finished.
It is done.
I'm ready to dig in, are you?
I am so ready.
Let's do this. This looks so yummy. Got a mushroom. Oh my goodness. Chef, you outdid yourself on this one.
There's a lot of flavor in that.
So good. So good.
That was really good.
Nice job.
Thanks, you too.
Minnesota Bound is brought to you by Midwest Exteriors MN, Voyager Lodge and Houseboats, and by Totem Resorts. the premier destination for world-class fishing.
Today's Minnesota Bound Classic takes Laura Schara back to the 1990s and a trip he took to Europe.
One to discover one of our favorite all-time lures.
A half-century ago in faraway Finland, a poor fisherman sat at his workbench carving fishing lures from the inner bark of pine trees. It's a story that begins like a fairy tale, because once upon a time, when the lure carver was a boy, he never knew his real name. His adopted parents simply called him Lauri Rapala.
He loved fishing to the end. I mean, in the beginning, of course, that was something that he had to do to feed his family, and you would probably imagine that he could kind of it would be a work for him. But I think the passion for fishing, that was there all the time.
Lauri Rapala's passion changed angling history. Out of this humble workshop came the greatest selling fishing lure of all time. Millions and millions of them.
I think it would be very, very difficult for him to understand the success. On the other hand, I think he would be very pleased to see all the success for his family and for the people in this little town here.
Today, Lauri Rapala is respected as a national hero. Although it's an honor he never knew. He died in 1974 at the age of 68. This is the Rapala factory in Braciole, Finland. Some 300 families work here, all of them making lures. It all begins with wood. Wood here, wood there, imported from Ecuador.
They are farming those trees in the plants, so we are not cutting rainforests. When you put some additional weight, right amount of weight to the right place, then you will get a very sensitive swimming action. That's the secret.
What Lauri Rapala once did with his hands, now machines do the work. 24 hours a day, strips of wood take shape as lure bodies to the dictates of computerized designs. So many styles, so many colors. But every Rapala is only as good as it swims on the end of the line. Annie, the lure tester, has the final say. Guaranteed?
There is a Rapala guarantee. If you don't catch fish, it's your own fault.
Lauri Rapala's fame as a lure carver may have had humble beginnings, but in 1962 he had a major league boost from a blonde bombshell, Marilyn Monroe. By chance, Marilyn was on the cover of Life magazine when editors ran a story about Lauri Rapala entitled, "A Lure Fish Can't Pass Up." A pair of Minnesota businessmen anglers, Ron Weber and his partner Ray Ostrom, were marketing Rapalas in the U.S. and Canada.
Well, it was a good news, bad news story. The good news was that every fisherman in the United States was screaming for a Rapala. The bad news was we didn't have any.
To meet the demand, Weber's company, Normark Corporation, helped Lauri Rapala and Sons build larger plants to increase production. By 1975, 25 million Rapala lures had been sold. The rest, as they say, is history. This is Payani Lake, where Lauri Rapala rode his fishing boat and tested his first hand-carved lure.
The original floater, silver color, that's a Rapala. I mean, that's a wooden body Rapala. And it's catching fish. It's so simple. Catch fish.
Esko Rapala led us to an island log cabin on Lake Payani, where his father used to stay for the night. To anglers, the crude dwelling is akin to a fishing shrine. Here worked a simple man who believed in an idea that he could make a better fishing lure.
Santa delivered my very first Rapala, a floater, gold and black.
Do you still have it?
Still have it.
So cool. Well, that about does it for us. Bill, Millie, and I will see you back here next week.
In the meantime, Millie, what do we always say? don't forget to introduce a kid to the great outdoors. What do you smell? Squirrels.
Transportation provided by Premier Transportation. Call 1-800-899-7433. To get more Minnesota Bound, including full episodes, go to mnbound.com. And to follow our latest adventures, like us on Facebook.